Before we begin today's message, I want you to take a deep breath. Let your heart settle. Let your thoughts become still. Because what you're about to hear is not just a teaching. It is a revelation, a healing, a reframing of your entire season. Today, we are diving deep into a question millions of believers carry silently. God, why am I still single? You've asked it during quiet nights. You've wondered it while watching others pair up. You've cried it in prayer after another disappointment. You felt it ache inside you when relationships fell apart, when someone walked away, when something that felt promising dissolved into nothing. And maybe you've even begun to wonder, is something wrong with me? Am I behind? Did I miss my chance? Has God forgotten me? But hear me clearly. Your singleness is not a punishment. It is not rejection. It is not failure. It is not delay. Your singleness is protection. It is alignment. It is preparation. It is divine strategy. You are not waiting for love. Love is being prepared for you. And today, for the next hour, we are going to go deeper than surface-level answers, deeper than cliches, deeper than simple encouragement. We're going to explore the spiritual reasons behind your singleness, the hidden battles God fought for you, the assignments attached to your life, the maturity required for your calling, the destiny God is shaping inside you, the timing heaven is orchestrating. By the end of this message, you will no longer see your singleness as a burden. You will see it as a season of divine becoming. So sit with me. Stay with me. Let every word soak into your spirit. Let's begin. When God is building your emotional maturity for a lasting covenant. Emotional maturity is one of the greatest gifts God develops in you during your single season. Without it, even the right relationship can turn into unnecessary struggle. God knows that love is more than affection. It's responsibility, patience, communication, sacrifice, and spiritual partnership. So He allows this season to shape your reactions, strengthen your self-control, and teach you how to handle conflict with grace instead of impulsiveness. What feels like nothing is happening is actually God preparing you to sustain the relationship you've been praying for, not just enter it prematurely. Many people want a kingdom relationship but still carry childhood wounds, unprocessed emotions, and unhealthy coping habits. God loves you too much to let those wounds bleed into your future marriage. This is why He isolates you, not because He is depriving you, but because He is refining you. During this time, He teaches you how to pause before responding, how to communicate without attacking, and how to apologize without pride. These lessons may not feel exciting, but they are essential. Emotional immaturity has destroyed more relationships than incompatibility ever has. God is protecting you from becoming the reason a blessing collapses. And when you finally meet the love God has for you, the difference will be undeniable. It won't feel rushed, it will feel right. It won't feel overwhelming, it will feel safe. It won't feel like a performance, it will feel like partnership. You will recognize them instantly, not because of sparks, but because of peace. Not because they excite your loneliness, but because they awaken your purpose. And you will thank God for every moment He kept you single, every connection He blocked, every person He removed. Because now you see clearly, now you can choose wisely, and now you won't mistake a temporary distraction for a God sent forever. Real love moves differently. It is calm, consistent, steady, and intentional. It does not create confusion, it brings clarity. It does not drain your energy, it gives your soul rest. It does not force you to chase, it meets you halfway. But to understand the beauty of real love, you must unlearn the chaos that counterfeit love normalized. God uses this single season to detox your heart from patterns that kept you accepting less. He teaches you to recognize emotional manipulation, inconsistent communication, and the kind of attention that only appears when it's convenient. When you can finally see the difference, you will stop giving access to people who only want to borrow your heart temporarily. Sometimes God blocks relationships because your heart is still attracted to what is familiar instead of what is healthy. Familiarity is powerful. Even unhealthy patterns can feel comfortable because they've been part of your life for so long. You might find yourself drawn to emotionally unavailable people, to relationships where you overgive, or to situations where you have to earn love instead of receiving it freely. God separates you so He can break these patterns. He rewires your expectations, restores your self-worth, and teaches you to desire a love that truly reflects Him. When your heart heals, your taste changes. You stop craving intensity and start valuing intention. When God is teaching you to recognize real love from counterfeits, there are seasons when God keeps you single because He's teaching you how to finally see the difference between real love and counterfeit affection. Counterfeits look exciting, they feel intense, and they often appear at the exact moment you feel weak or lonely. They give you butterflies but no peace. They give you attention but no consistency. They give you moments but no future. And if you're not spiritually grounded, it's easy to confuse emotional chemistry with divine compatibility. God knows how dangerous this confusion can be, so He separates you, not to withhold love, but to train your heart to recognize what is genuine and what is just emotionally manipulative. Counterfeit love often mirrors the things you long for. It mirrors affection but lacks commitment. It mirrors connection but lacks responsibility. It mirrors interest but lacks depth. And the more you crave love, the more vulnerable you are to mistaking these imitations for something real. God uses singleness to sharpen your discernment. He clears your vision so you can see through charm, through charisma, through the illusions people project. He teaches you to stop believing empty words and start observing consistent actions. In this training, God is not being silent. He is building your wisdom so you never again fall for someone whose intentions are temporary. And when the time is right, you'll understand why the delays were necessary. You'll look back at the people you once cried over and realize you were grieving limitations, not blessings. You'll see how God saved you from pain you didn't know was coming. You'll understand that His protection wasn't rejection, it was redirection. And the moment you meet the person He designed for you, everything will make sense. Because with them, you won't need to settle. You won't need to fight for the bare minimum. You won't need to convince them to choose you. They will meet you with intention, clarity, and commitment. And you'll thank God for every season He kept you single so that you would never again confuse barely enough with the love you were always meant to receive. Sometimes God keeps you single because you would have settled for someone far below what He intended for you. Not because you are weak, not because you lack standards, but because life has exhausted you to the point where good enough starts looking acceptable. When you're tired, lonely, or emotionally drained, almost anything feels comforting. And God sees that. He sees the version of you that is tempted to shrink your worth for temporary companionship. So He steps in. He closes doors. He blocks connections. He disrupts situations you were willing to entertain. Because the person you would settle for is never the person who would honor what God placed within you. There are moments when you think you're ready for love, but God knows you're vulnerable to choosing someone based on emotion instead of direction. Emotion says, I don't want to be alone. Direction says, lead me where I'm meant to be. Emotion convinces you to hold on to people who feel familiar even when they aren't aligned with your future. Direction pushes you toward purpose, even when it requires walking alone for a while. God keeps you single in the in-between so you don't confuse emotional attachment for divine alignment. because He knows how easily the wrong relationship can drain your purpose, silence your calling, and distract you from the life you're supposed to build. And when the healing is complete, something shifts. You begin to love from a place of peace, not pain, from confidence, not insecurity, from understanding, not desperation. You stop repeating old patterns. You stop attracting familiar wounds. You stop giving your heart to people who don't know how to hold it. You choose differently, see differently, feel differently. And that's when God brings the right person, someone who meets the healed version of you, not the hurting one. Someone who complements your strength, respects your boundaries, and understands your depth. And you will realize that the season you once questioned was actually the season that saved you. Because God didn't keep you single to break you. He kept you single to heal you for the love you are destined to receive. Healing also means facing the fears you've been avoiding. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. These fears shape how you love. They make you cling too tightly or withdraw too quickly. They make you accept less than you deserve or push away what you actually want. God brings you into a season of being single so you can confront these fears instead of carrying them silently. He reveals the patterns, the cycles, the emotional reactions that have been sabotaging your relationships. And though this process feels uncomfortable, it is freeing. Because the moment you understand your triggers is the moment you stop being controlled by them. God also removes the need for emotional dependency. Some relationships are not based on love. They are based on fear of loneliness. You stay because you don't want to be alone, not because the connection feeds your soul. So God pulls you out of these emotional habits. He teaches you how to feel whole without needing someone beside you. He strengthens your identity, your confidence, your self-worth, because real love requires two whole people, not two broken halves trying to survive loneliness. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop entering relationships out of fear and begin choosing them out of clarity. This season also teaches you emotional clarity. With distractions gone, you can finally see the truth behind your own desires. You begin to understand what kind of love aligns with your purpose. You realize what kind of partner you actually need, not what your loneliness craves, but what your spirit requires. You discover that love is not about avoiding emptiness, it is about nurturing purpose. Someone who complements your destiny, not competes with it. Someone who strengthens you, not drains you. Someone who sees your worth, not questions it. Once you gain this clarity, you stop chasing anything that doesn't match your value. God is also preparing you to be appreciated, not overlooked. There were seasons where you were the one giving effort, the one showing care, the one initiating communication, the one carrying the emotional weight. You thought it was love, but it was imbalance. And imbalance is not God's design. He wants you in a relationship where love flows both ways, where you are pursued, valued, respected, and cherished. But for you to experience that, He has to remove the distractions that made you believe you had to earn love. He is teaching you that your presence is a blessing, your heart is a gift, and your love is not cheap. Once you understand this, you will never again settle for someone who treats you like an option. And finally, God uses this chapter of singleness to draw you closer to Him. There is a depth of intimacy with God that only forms in solitude, a closeness that only develops when the noise of relationships fades and you're left with silence that becomes sacred. In that silence, God speaks. He reveals your identity. He heals the parts of you that were hidden. He restores what was broken, redefines what was lost, and rebuilds what was damaged. And slowly, the loneliness that once felt heavy turns into peace that feels comforting. You begin to realize that being single is not the absence of love, it is the presence of God preparing you for a higher form of love. And when God finally brings the right person into your life, you will notice the difference instantly. You will feel purpose, not panic. You will feel peace, not pressure. You will feel clarity, not confusion. Their presence won't interrupt your calling, it will confirm it. Their love won't drain you, it will develop you. And in that moment, everything you learned in this season will suddenly make sense. The waiting wasn't loneliness, it was alignment. It was God shaping your heart, sharpening your spirit, and preparing your life for the relationship that will not distract you from your purpose, but push you deeper into it. During this time, God also teaches you emotional independence. Not the kind that makes you cold or closed off, but the kind that makes you whole. He wants you to know how to stand without collapsing into someone else, how to find joy without depending on constant reassurance, how to feel confident without needing approval. This kind of independence isn't arrogance, it's spiritual maturity. Because when you don't need someone, you can choose someone. And that choice becomes powerful, intentional, and rooted in love, not fear. God keeps you single long enough to detach your identity from relationships so you can enter the next one as a complete, confident, balanced version of yourself. This season also reveals the true purpose of companionship. Some people want a relationship because they fear being alone. But God wants you to want a relationship because you are ready to build something meaningful. Love is not just emotional comfort, it's spiritual partnership. It's calling, it's covenant. It's two lives, two visions, two purposes merging into one God-designed direction. And if the person you choose cannot support your purpose, then the relationship itself becomes a stumbling block. This is why God keeps you single until you understand what you truly need. Not someone who fills your time, but someone who strengthens your assignment. Not someone who entertains your emotions, but someone who elevates your spirit. There are seasons when God keeps you single because He wants you to understand the difference between feeling lonely and being called. Loneliness is emotional. Calling is spiritual. Loneliness makes you reach for anyone. Calling makes you wait for someone specific. And until you learn the difference, God will not allow just anyone into your life. He knows that when loneliness speaks louder than purpose, you end up inviting people who soothe the moment but sabotage the future. So God pulls you into a season where He replaces emotional cravings with spiritual clarity. He teaches you that being alone is not the absence of love, it's the presence of purpose. And purpose always prepares you before it pairs you. This is the season where God begins to strengthen your identity. When you're finally alone long enough to hear your own thoughts, you begin to realize what truly matters to you. Not what others want, not what society expects, but what God designed you for. You start to see your own patterns, your own needs, your own destiny with greater clarity. And suddenly, companionship is no longer about filling a void. It becomes about alignment. You understand that the wrong person adds noise to your soul, while the right person adds peace. God teaches you this clarity through experience, through self-discovery, through spiritual growth. He allows you to feel the weight of your own calling so you don't settle for anyone who cannot carry it with you. During this season, God is building a version of you who cannot be manipulated by loneliness, a version of you who doesn't chase what is harmful, a version of you who recognizes divine alignment over emotional urgency. This transformation is slow, but it is sacred, because the person you are becoming is the person who will protect the love story God is preparing. Your healed self will choose differently. Your wise self will love differently. And your strengthened self will never settle for what your broken self once accepted. And when God finally brings someone healthy into your life, the difference will be undeniable. You will feel peace instead of confusion. You will feel clarity instead of inconsistency. You will feel honored instead of exhausted. Everything you once tolerated will seem foreign to you. Everything you once cried for will feel small compared to what God finally gives you. And in that moment, you will recognize the beauty of this season. You will see why God isolated you, why He broke your patterns, why He closed certain doors, and why He allowed certain endings. You will understand that staying single wasn't God holding you back. It was God setting you free. And now that you are free, you are finally ready for the love He has written for your life. Sometimes God isolates you so He can heal you without interference. When you're alone, without distractions, without noise, God finally has room to speak to you in a way you can hear clearly. He shows you the wounds you dismissed, the emotions you buried, the memories you avoided. He helps you revisit the very moments you thought you were done with, not to reopen old pain, but to close it properly this time. Healing is not forgetting, it is understanding. And God keeps you single long enough to understand what truly happened to you and how deeply it shaped the way you show up in relationships. This level of clarity becomes protection for your future. God also breaks the pattern of seeking love from the wrong places. You may have spent years giving your heart to people who were never ready to hold it. You offered loyalty to those who didn't value it, and you waited for commitment from people who feared it. God will interrupt that cycle until you recognize your worth without negotiation. He keeps you single until you stop entertaining what drains you, until you stop mistaking potential for consistency, until you stop tolerating behavior that breaks your peace. He teaches you to walk away faster, choose wiser, and love yourself deeper so that your future relationship becomes a blessing, not a battlefield. There are moments in life when God keeps you single because He is breaking patterns you can't see. You may think you're ready for a relationship, yet God knows there are cycles within you that would repeat the same pain you're trying to avoid. He knows the way you attach too quickly, the way you ignore red flags, the way you shrink yourself just to be accepted, or the way you confuse attention with affection. And because He loves you, He won't let you walk into another relationship carrying the same patterns that once wounded you. Singleness becomes the season where God rewrites your inner script, replaces old habits, and heals the parts of you that have been running on survival instead of wisdom. God breaks your patterns gently but intentionally. He brings moments of self-awareness you never had before. You start noticing why you stayed in situations where you were barely valued. You begin to understand why certain people were drawn to your wounds, not your worth. You realize how your past shaped the way you love, give, and attach. And slowly, God begins unraveling the emotional knots inside you. This process is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the truth, not just about others, but about yourself. But God doesn't expose these patterns to shame you. He exposes them to free you. Because you can't step into a healthy love story while carrying the habits that once broke your heart. This season also reveals who you are without romantic approval. Many people enter relationships because they crave validation, not partnership. They want someone to fill the voids they refuse to face. But God wants you to confront those voids directly. He wants you to know that your worth doesn't come from being chosen by someone, it comes from being created by Him. And until you believe that, He will not give you someone who can accidentally become your identity. Your partner should complement you, not complete you. Only God completes you, and He keeps you single until you understand the difference. God also uses singleness to build the life He wants you to bring into a relationship. Your purpose, your discipline, your faith, your emotional stability, all of these become the foundation of your future home. A relationship is not just two people. It is two histories, two mindsets, two spiritual lives merging into one. If even one of those pieces is unstable, the entire relationship becomes shaky. God is stabilizing you now so your future love story stands on solid ground. And He is doing the same for the person He has chosen for you. When the time is right, God will not whisper. You will know. Doors will open naturally. Conversations will flow easily. Your peace will feel stronger than your fear. And the connection will feel like alignment, not confusion. You won't have to chase, beg, force, or guess. God will bring the right person in a way that honors both of your journeys. And when you look back, every moment of waiting, every night you felt alone, every season of silence will make perfect sense. Because you will see that you weren't waiting for love. You were becoming ready for the love God had written for you long before you were born. There are seasons in your life where God keeps you single because He is preparing you for someone who is also being prepared for you. You are not waiting alone. Someone else is growing, healing, evolving, and becoming the version of themselves that will one day love you the way God intends. But preparation takes time. God is not only shaping your heart, He is shaping theirs too. There are lessons they must learn before they can value you. There are wounds they must confront before they can love you properly. There is maturity they must reach before they can carry the weight of real commitment. And God will not bring you together prematurely. He knows that rushed timing destroys what perfect timing could have blessed. During this preparation season, God teaches you how to love without losing yourself. He teaches you how to communicate, how to forgive, how to set boundaries, how to understand emotions, and how to honor the heart of another human being. These skills are not random, they are essential. Without them, even the right person becomes stressful. Even the right relationship becomes heavy. God keeps you single long enough for the lessons to sink deeply into your character. He wants you to be emotionally ready, spiritually grounded, and mentally strong so your future relationship becomes a place of peace, not chaos. And one day, when God finally brings the right person, you will look back at this waiting season with gratitude instead of frustration. You will understand why He kept you hidden, why He closed certain doors, why He allowed certain people to leave, and why He chose silence instead of immediate answers. You will see that singleness wasn't punishment. It was God's way of securing the love story that would change your life. The waiting wasn't rejection, it was protection. And the silence wasn't God's absence, it was His strategy. God also knows timing in a way you never will. There is a season where your heart is growing, your character is forming, and your identity is becoming stronger. And if God gave you the relationship you want too early, you would lose yourself in it. You would love so deeply that you would forget boundaries, dreams, and self-worth. You would sacrifice parts of your identity just to avoid being left again. But God cannot let you enter a relationship from a place of emptiness. He wants you to enter from abundance. He wants you to give love, not beg for it. He wants you to be chosen, not tolerated. And that means He must build you first. This season of singleness is not empty time, it's sacred time. Time where God teaches you how to stand so you won't collapse when love tests you. Time where He heals your past so your future won't carry the same wounds. Time where He strengthens your identity so no one else can define it. He is preparing you quietly, deeply, intentionally, not because He's delaying your life, but because He's shaping your heart for a future you can't imagine yet. Sometimes God keeps you single not because something is wrong with you, but because He's protecting you from something you cannot see yet. There are moments where you feel ready for love, ready for a relationship, ready to give your heart to someone deeply, yet everything around you stays silent. No doors open, no possibilities grow, and you begin to wonder if God is ignoring you. But what if the silence is actually God's mercy? What if He's blocking every wrong person, every harmful connection, every temporary distraction, simply because He knows their presence would break you in ways you are not prepared to handle? God sees what you can't see: intentions, motivations, hidden patterns, secret weaknesses. He knows who would hurt you before you even meet them. There are people who look emotionally available but are spiritually empty. People who sound supportive but carry silent insecurities that would eventually become your burden. People who seem loving but are not healed enough to love anyone, not even themselves. God doesn't just choose partners for you, He filters out threats. And sometimes that filtering process feels like loneliness. But it's not loneliness, it's protection. If you could see the storms God saved you from, you would thank Him for every person who walked away, every relationship that didn't work, every door that stayed shut when you begged it to open. Another part of emotional maturity is learning not to depend on someone else to stabilize your mood. God teaches you to regulate your emotions so you don't place the burden of your inner storms on another person. You learn how to find peace in prayer, not in constant reassurance. You learn how to manage disappointment without withdrawing, how to express your needs without demanding, and how to love without losing yourself. This inner strength makes you a partner who brings calm, not chaos. And when the right person arrives, they will immediately notice the difference. Maturity is magnetic. It attracts people who love deeply and intentionally. God also uses this season to teach you how to set boundaries, not walls. Walls block love out, but boundaries guide love in healthy ways. If your past experiences taught you to shut down or overprotect your heart, God gently softens and strengthens you at the same time. You learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. You learn to recognize red flags early instead of justifying them. And most importantly, you learn to communicate what you need with confidence, not insecurity. This balance creates the kind of emotional foundation a covenant relationship requires, stable, open, and guided by wisdom. Silence also teaches you to listen, truly listen. In relationships, communication is more than words. It's understanding, presence, and awareness. God trains your ears in this season to hear not only His voice, but your own internal voice clearly. You learn which emotions need comfort and which ones need correction. You learn which fears are lies and which ones are warnings. You learn how to recognize the Holy Spirit's whisper so that when temptation, confusion, or counterfeit relationships show up, you immediately sense the difference. This spiritual discernment protects your future and preserves your peace. And when this season ends, and it will walk into your next relationship with a maturity and clarity that few possess. You won't settle out of fear, rush out of loneliness, or cling out of insecurity. Instead, you will choose with wisdom, love with intention, and stand with confidence. Your future partner will feel the peace in you, the groundedness, the emotional depth, the spiritual awareness, and they will thank God for the season He used to refine you. Because the silence that once felt painful will become the very reason your relationship thrives. God wasn't ignoring you. He was preparing you to be heard in the right place, at the right time, by the right heart. There comes a point in your single season when God becomes quiet, not because He is distant, but because He is drawing something deeper out of you. Silence is uncomfortable, but it is also revealing. It shows you the thoughts you avoid, the fears you hide, and the immaturity you still carry. In this stillness, God confronts the parts of your heart that relationships often distract you from. It is in silence that you begin to understand who you truly are, not who you pretend to be, not who someone else wants you to be, but who God designed you to become. And this awareness is necessary before you can ever share your life with someone else. God uses silence to detox your identity from the wrong voices. You cannot hear Him clearly if your self-worth is tied to attention, validation, or past approval. When everyone goes quiet and the notifications stop and the world moves without you, God teaches you the powerful truth that you are valuable even when no one is choosing you. This kind of identity is unshakable. It is not built on compliments, relationships, or romantic interest. It is built on the voice of God alone. And when your identity is rooted in Him, you stop chasing emotional crumbs and start recognizing your worth in every decision you make. In these quiet seasons, God reveals your patterns, how you react under pressure, how you handle disappointment, how you deal with loneliness, how you respond when your desires clash with His timing. These are the parts of you that directly influence the health of your future relationship, and God will not allow you to carry broken patterns into a covenant meant to last a lifetime. He exposes your temper, your insecurity, your impatience, your need to control outcomes. Not to shame you, but to heal you. Because a kingdom partner requires a kingdom version of you, not a wounded version that hasn't learned the power of discipline and surrender. When the person God has for you finally enters your life, your emotional maturity will make the relationship feel peaceful and natural. There will be understanding instead of arguments, partnership instead of power struggles, and grace instead of blame. Love will feel like teamwork, not tension. You'll look back at this season and realize that God wasn't withholding anything from you. He was building something in you, something deeper, something permanent, something that can hold the weight of destiny. And you'll thank Him for every lonely night, every quiet lesson, and every moment that shaped you into someone ready for a love that lasts.